Ethan's shuttle shuddered violently as it fell through the atmosphere of the strange planet. Red clouds twisted above him, lightning crackling in streaks across the sky. The controls sparked and smoked, and he fought to keep the craft steady. But no matter what he did, the shuttle plummeted toward the dense forest below. The impact was brutal. Ethan was thrown forward, slamming into the console. Pain shot through his shoulder, but he managed to crawl out before the shuttle caught fire. Smoke filled the air, and the heat from the wreck was intense. He coughed and waved away the smoke, his mind racing. He had survived the crash, but he was alone on an alien world with no immediate help. The forest around him was unlike anything on Earth. Trees towered high above, their leaves a deep violet that shimmered faintly under the strange sunlight. The ground was soft, almost sponge-like, and strange glowing flowers dotted the undergrowth. Ethan pushed himself to his feet and took stock. He was injured, hungry, and disoriented, but he knew he had to move. He set off cautiously, keeping his eyes and ears open. Every sound made him tense, rustling leaves, distant calls, and the snapping of twigs underfoot. He had learned early on in survival training that staying alert could mean the difference between life and death. After walking for a while, he noticed a faint sound, a soft cry, almost like a child's voice. He paused and listened carefully. There it was again, a weak, frightened call. Without thinking, he followed the sound, pushing through thick underbrush. The cries grew louder as he approached a small clearing. There, to his shock, he saw a young alien girl. She was struggling in a strange, muddy ground that seemed to pull at her legs like it wanted to swallow her. Her skin was pale blue, her eyes wide and shining with fear. Her small hands flailed as she tried to pull herself free. But the more she struggled, the deeper she sank. Ethan's heart pounded. He had no idea what kind of creatures lived on this planet, but he knew he couldn't leave her. "Hold on, I've got you," he shouted as he ran forward. The girl looked at him with wide, terrified eyes. "No, human. Leave," she cried, her voice trembling. But Ethan ignored her protests. He grabbed a thick branch and extended it toward her. "Take it, grab it," he urged. She hesitated, but desperation overcame fear. Her small hands clutched the branch, and Ethan pulled with all his strength. Mud sloshed around them, sucking at his boots as he anchored himself. The girl's body jerked free of the sticky ground, and she collapsed into his arms, shaking. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Ethan looked at her face, young, scared, but alive. Her glowing eyes reflected the sunlight filtering through the violet leaves. He gently set her down and checked for injuries. She was trembling but seemed unhurt, aside from minor scratches on her arms and legs. "Are you okay?" he asked. She didn't answer at first. Her eyes studied him cautiously. Finally, she whispered, "Name." "Ethan?" Ethan raised an eyebrow. "How do you know my name?" She shook her head. I don't know." "You help." "Safe." Her words were broken, simple, but he understood. She was trying to say that he had saved her. Ethan nodded, a small smile forming despite the situation. "Okay, you're safe now." "I won't let anything happen to you." The girl looked around nervously. "Be so quiet." "Predators," she warned. Ethan's eyes darted to the forest around them. The shadows seemed to move in strange ways, and distant growls echoed through the trees. He realized she was right. This planet was full of creatures that were likely more dangerous than anything he had faced before. He had to get them both to safety. "Come with me," he said, holding out his hand. "I'll take you somewhere safe." The girl hesitated but finally nodded, allowing him to guide her through the thick underbrush. The ground was uneven and the forest was dense, but Ethan moved carefully, alert to every sound. He kept an eye out for predators, scanning the shadows for any sign of movement. After walking for some time, they reached a small clearing with a natural spring. The water was clear and cool, and Ethan helped the girl drink. She drank cautiously, then looked at him with a shy, grateful expression. "I thank Ethan," she said. "You don't have to thank me," he replied, smiling. "I'd do the same for anyone." For a while, they just sat by the spring, catching their breath. Ethan examined the girl more closely. Her features were delicate, her body small and fragile, but there was a quiet strength in her eyes. He wondered about her people, her home, and how she had ended up trapped in that strange ground. Suddenly, a rustling sound made them both tense. Ethan stood, placing himself between the girl and the sound. A large, shadowy figure emerged from the trees. Its eyes glowed faintly, and it moved with a predatory grace. Ethan didn't recognize the creature, but he knew it was dangerous. "Stay behind me," he whispered to the girl. The creature growled and stepped closer. Ethan's mind raced. He had nothing but his survival tools and quick thinking. He picked up a heavy branch and held it like a staff, ready to defend them both. The creature lunged, but Ethan swung the branch with precision, striking its side. It yelped and retreated slightly, but it was not gone. He glanced at the girl. "Run!" he shouted. They darted toward a nearby grove where the trees were thicker, giving them cover. The creature followed, but Ethan led it into a trap of his own making, a pitfall he had noticed earlier in the forest. The creature fell in with a roar and scrambled for the edges, but Ethan and the girl were already far enough away to be safe. Panting, Ethan leaned against a tree. "That was close," he muttered. The girl clung to his arm, trembling but alive. "You brave human," she whispered. Ethan chuckled softly. "I just did what I had to do. That's all." The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of red and purple. Ethan realized they needed a place to rest for the night. He found a small cave nearby, hidden by thick foliage. It wasn't much, but it would keep them safe from predators and the cold night air. He helped the girl inside and made a small fire outside the entrance, careful not to draw too much attention. As they sat near the fire, the girl finally spoke more openly. "Name Lyra," she said. "Lyra," Ethan repeated. "That's a beautiful name." "I'm Ethan," she nodded, her glowing eyes meeting his. For a moment, they simply sat in silence, the fire crackling softly. Ethan felt a strange connection with this young alien girl. He didn't know what lay ahead on this world, but he knew one thing. He had saved her, and that choice had already changed both of their fates. Night deepened, and the sounds of the forest grew louder. Strange calls echoed, distant howls and the rustle of creatures moving in the underbrush. Ethan remained vigilant, scanning the shadows with a sharp eye. Lyra leaned slightly against him, trusting him in a way that surprised him. He felt a sense of responsibility heavier than anything he had experienced before. "Tomorrow," he said softly, "we find you safe shelter somewhere you belong." Lyra nodded, though her eyes were heavy with sleep. "With Ethan?" she whispered. Ethan smiled faintly, feeling a warmth he hadn't expected. He didn't know what challenges awaited them on this alien world, but he knew one thing. He would not abandon her. Not now, not ever. Outside the cave, the alien night stretched endlessly, filled with unseen dangers and unknown mysteries. But inside, two unlikely companions rested, one human, one alien, both bound together by courage, trust, and a moment that would change their lives forever. And so began the story of Ethan and Lyra, a story of survival, bravery, and the bond between two beings from completely different worlds, a story that would soon attract attention far beyond their small clearing in the alien forest. Ethan woke to the soft light of the alien dawn filtering through the trees. Lyra was already awake, sitting quietly near the fire. Her glowing blue eyes scanned the surroundings with the alertness of someone who had survived dangers he could not yet imagine. Ethan smiled at her, relieved to see she had slept well despite the rough night. "Did you sleep well?" he asked, stretching his stiff muscles. Lyra nodded. "Safe, Ethan," she said simply, her small hand brushing the firelight. Ethan shook his head and chuckled softly. "I'm glad you think so. But we still need to be careful today. This forest isn't friendly to strangers." He gathered their few belongings and packed them carefully. He wanted to move further into the forest to find a safer place, perhaps even a natural shelter where they could hide from predators. As he walked with Lyra close behind, the forest seemed alive in a new way. The birds calling, the trees swaying in a silent rhythm, and the glowing flowers casting faint shadows on the soft ground. Suddenly, a sound stopped Ethan in his tracks. It was soft at first, almost like whispers carried by the wind. He crouched low and motioned for Lyra to stay close. The whispers grew louder, forming words he could not understand. But then he noticed movement, shapes gliding through the shadows of the trees. Lyra stiffened beside him. Her hands gripped his arm. Come," she whispered, her voice trembling. Ethan's heart raced. He had faced dangerous creatures before, but this was different. These were not animals. The figures moved with purpose, with intelligence. And there were many of them, tall, strong, and graceful. From the shadows stepped a group of alien women. They were striking, with glowing eyes and tall, muscular frames. Their skin ranged from shades of deep violet to soft silver, and their hair flowed like liquid light in the strange sunlight. Each of them carried a weapon, not raised but ready if needed. Ethan stepped forward slowly, raising his hands in a gesture of peace. "I don't mean any harm," he said calmly. The women's eyes studied him, sharp and cautious. One of them, taller and more imposing than the rest, stepped forward. Her presence commanded attention. She was the leader, the one who seemed to hold the others' respect without question. "Why is a human here?" she demanded, her voice firm but not cruel. Ethan's eyes went to Lyra. She ran toward the leader, calling out something in her own language. The leader's eyes softened slightly, and she knelt to greet the girl. Lyra clung to her, whispering quickly. Ethan realized she was saying something important, something he could not yet understand. The leader's gaze returned to him, a mix of curiosity and caution. "You saved her," she said slowly, as if testing the words. "Yes," Ethan replied. "She was in danger. I couldn't leave her." The leader's eyes narrowed. "Why would a human risk himself for one of us? Our people do not trust outsiders." Ethan swallowed. I don't know. I just couldn't let her die. It's what I do." The leader stood tall again and signaled to the others. "Bring him to our settlement," she ordered. "We need to see if his intentions are true." Ethan hesitated. He had expected hostility, maybe even an attack, but he did not resist. He knew he had little choice. Lyra stayed close, holding his hand tightly, her trust in him unwavering. The journey to the settlement was tense. Ethan walked slowly, trying not to alarm the women who escorted them. The forest around them was dense, but the path they followed seemed familiar to the aliens, winding through areas he would never have found alone. Occasionally, Ethan caught glimpses of their eyes glinting in the shadows, always watching him. When they arrived, he was stunned. The settlement was hidden deep in the forest, a series of structures built into the trees themselves. Bridges and walkways connected platforms high above the ground. The architecture was elegant, with glowing plants integrated into the buildings. It was a place of beauty and strength, clearly built to survive and thrive in this wild world. The women led Ethan to a central clearing where a larger platform served as a gathering space. Here, more members of the tribe had assembled. They were all women, tall and strong, each one radiating confidence and authority. Ethan realized the tribe was matriarchal, and humans were likely strangers in their history. The leader gestured for Ethan to stand in the center. "We will decide if you are friend or threat," she said. "You saved one of our own. That does not erase the history of your kind, but it shows courage. Explain yourself." Ethan took a deep breath. "I don't want to be a threat. I was traveling through this world when I found her trapped. I didn't know your people, but I couldn't leave her to die." That's all. There was silence. The women exchanged glances, some skeptical, others thoughtful. The rescued girl, Lyra, ran to Ethan and clung to him. "Human?" "Good," she said simply. The leader studied him closely, then nodded. "We will test your intentions," she said finally. "Your courage brought her life, but our tribe cannot be so easily convinced. You will help us," Ethan's brow furrowed. "Help you? With what?" The leader gestured to the forest beyond the settlement. "There is a hunt. A beast threatens our borders. Only those who prove themselves in the hunt can earn our trust. You will join the hunt." Ethan nodded, understanding immediately. Trust on this world had to be earned, and there was no other way. "I will do it," he said firmly. Lyra squeezed his hand. "Safe, human," she whispered. Her faith in him strengthened his resolve. That evening, the tribe prepared for the hunt. Weapons were checked, strategies discussed in their melodic language, and Ethan was given simple instructions on how to use their tools. Some of the women watched him with thinly veiled skepticism, unsure if a human could survive alongside them. As night fell, the forest seemed quieter, almost holding its breath. Ethan sat near the fire, listening to the sounds of the tribe as they shared stories in hushed tones. He realized this world had its own rules, its own dangers, and its own way of life, and somehow he had been thrown into it in the most unexpected way possible. Before sleep, he knelt near Lyra. "Tomorrow," he said softly, "we prove that I can be trusted. Not just for you, but for all of them." She nodded, her glowing eyes reflecting the firelight. "Human, strong," she said. And for the first time, Ethan felt a sense of belonging, fragile but real. As he closed his eyes, the shadows of the alien forest stretched endlessly around them. Strange sounds echoed in the distance, howls, rustling leaves, and the calls of creatures unseen. Ethan's mind was alive with possibilities, fears, and determination. He had come to this world alone, but now he was not just a survivor. He was part of something larger, something he could not yet fully understand, and so, the next chapter of his journey began, not as a stranger lost in a wild alien forest, but as a human who had saved a life and now faced the judgment and curiosity of an entire tribe. The stakes were higher than ever, and Ethan knew that earning their trust would test him in ways he could not yet imagine. But he was ready. For Lyra, for himself, and for the bond that had begun with a single act of courage. Ethan awoke before dawn, the soft violet light of the alien sky spilling through the canopy. Today was different. He would face the tribe's test, a trial that would decide whether he could remain among them. Lyra stirred beside him, her small hand brushing his arm. She looked at him with a mixture of hope and worry. "Are you ready?" she whispered. Ethan nodded. "I'll do my best. We'll be safe together." The tribe gathered at the edge of the settlement, their eyes fixed on him. The leader, tall and commanding, approached. "Today you will join the hunt," she said. "Your strength, your courage, and your mind will be tested. Only then will we know if you can be trusted." Ethan swallowed, feeling the weight of the moment. He had faced dangers before, but never had his survival been judged by an entire tribe. The alien women eyed him closely, their expressions unreadable. Some looked skeptical, others curious. "You will follow our warriors," the leader continued. "They will show you the way. Observe, learn, survive, do not fail." The group moved into the forest, swift and silent. Ethan followed, keeping his senses alert. The terrain was uneven, with towering trees and tangled roots. Strange flowers glowed faintly in the underbrush, lighting their path in eerie colors. As they walked, the tribe spoke little, communicating mostly with gestures and occasional whispers. Ethan noticed the precision of their movements, the grace in their steps and the strength in their bodies. They were formidable, and he felt both respect and awe. After some time, they reached a clearing. In its center, a large, strange creature grazed, unaware of their presence. It had multiple legs, thick armor-like skin, and a head shaped like no animal Ethan had ever seen. The tribe stopped and gestured for him to watch. "This is the creature you must face," one of the warriors said in broken common words. "It guards the forest, dangerous, clever, many have tried. Few succeed." Ethan studied it carefully. The creature's eyes were small but sharp. Its movements were slow but deliberate. It sniffed the air, sensing their presence. Ethan realized that brute strength alone would not succeed here. He would need strategy, observation, and quick thinking. The tribe spread out, surrounding the creature carefully. Ethan followed their lead, keeping to the edges of the clearing. He noticed how they communicated silently, using small signals with their hands and subtle shifts in posture. It was an elegant system perfected over generations. As they approached, the creature lifted its head, sensing the humans and the alien women. It let out a low growl, the sound vibrating through the clearing. Ethan felt a surge of adrenaline. He had faced predators before, but nothing like this. The tribe signaled for him to act. Ethan took a deep breath and stepped forward, careful not to startle the creature. He used a small pointed stick to prod the ground near a root, creating a small trap. The creature reacted, shifting its weight, but did not flee. He adjusted quickly, setting another simple trap nearby. One of the warriors nodded approvingly. Ethan's human ingenuity impressed her. He continued observing the creature's movements, predicting its reactions, and setting traps with precision. Slowly, carefully, they guided the creature toward a shallow pit. Suddenly, the creature lunged toward Ethan, faster than he expected. He jumped aside, barely avoiding its armored head. His heart raced, but he focused on the pattern he had seen. Using a combination of traps and careful positioning, he finally led the creature into the pit. It thrashed, but the pit's walls were steep and it could not escape. The tribe stepped forward, observing his success. Ethan breathed heavily, sweat running down his forehead, but he felt a surge of accomplishment. He had survived. He had proven himself in their eyes. The leader approached, her eyes studying him carefully. "You are not weak," she said. "You are clever, brave, and fast. But strength alone does not define trust. You have shown you can think, adapt, and act for others. That is more important than victory." Ethan nodded, feeling both relief and pride. Lyra ran to him, clinging to his arm. "Safe. Human," she whispered. The other women looked at him with new eyes. Where there had been skepticism, now there was respect. Where there had been caution, there was curiosity. They began to share small smiles, murmuring among themselves. Ethan realized he had passed the first part of their test, not just the hunt but the demonstration of character. The day continued with further tests. The tribe taught him how to track animals, how to read the forest for signs of danger, and how to move quietly through their world. Some of the women challenged him in friendly contests of speed and strength. Each time Ethan adapted, learning quickly and showing that humans could be resourceful and resilient. By evening, Ethan was exhausted but exhilarated. They returned to the settlement where the tribe gathered around a central fire. The leader looked at him, her expression softening. "You have passed the trial of trust," she declared. "Not all humans would act as you have. Not all would survive, and not all would care for one of our own. You have done all three." Ethan felt a warmth in his chest. Lyra hugged him tightly, proud of her human savior. The tribe watched silently, acknowledging his courage and intelligence. He realized that he was no longer just a stranger on this alien world. He was someone they could rely on, someone who had earned a place among them. That night, as Ethan sat near the fire with Lyra, he reflected on the day. He had faced fear, danger, and skepticism, and yet he had prevailed. More importantly, he had formed a bond, not just with Lyra, but with the entire tribe. They were watching him, judging him, and slowly accepting him as one of their own. "Tomorrow," he said softly to Lyra, "we continue. There is more to learn, more to face. But I think we are ready." Lyra nodded, her glowing eyes reflecting the firelight. "Yes, the ready," she said. Ethan knew she was right. The forest was full of challenges, and the tribe's world was vast and mysterious. But for the first time since he had crashed on this planet, he felt a sense of purpose. He was no longer just surviving. He was part of something larger. He had earned trust, built bonds, and shown that a human could stand among these formidable alien women. As the night deepened, the forest around them seemed quieter, as if respecting the moment. Ethan and Lyra slept near the fire, surrounded by the tribe who now regarded him with cautious admiration. Outside, the alien night stretched endlessly, filled with unseen creatures and unspoken stories. But inside, a human had found a place, precarious, new, but earned through courage and compassion. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new lessons, and new tests. But for now, Ethan allowed himself a rare moment of rest, knowing that he had passed the first and perhaps most important trial: trust. And in this alien world, trust was everything. The morning air was crisp and fresh, tinged with the faint glow of alien sunlight filtering through the dense forest canopy. Ethan rose from his bedding of leaves and soft moss, stretching stiff muscles that still ached from yesterday's trial of trust. Lyra was already awake, sitting quietly near the fire, her small figure illuminated by its flickering light. "Are you ready for today?" Ethan asked gently. Lyra nodded eagerly. "Hunt, show, tribe," she said. Her words were simple, but they carried determination. She had faith in him, and that faith gave him strength he didn't know he had. Ethan packed their few belongings, making sure his tools were within easy reach. He had learned quickly that the forest was unpredictable. One misstep could be dangerous, and one moment of distraction could be fatal. Today, the hunt would test more than just his strength. It would test his mind, his courage, and his ability to work with the tribe. The tribe gathered in the central clearing, their expressions serious. The leader approached him, her glowing eyes steady and piercing. "The hunt is not only for food or defense," she said. "It is a lesson. It shows your understanding, your patience, and your courage. Follow closely. Observe, learn, and act when needed." Ethan nodded. He knew he had to prove himself not only to survive, but to earn the trust of every member of the tribe. Lyra clung to his arm briefly before running to join the other children of the tribe who were observing from a safe distance. The hunt began quietly. The tribe moved with a fluid, almost silent grace. Ethan kept close, careful not to slow them down. The forest around them seemed alive. The leaves shimmered with alien colors, and the faint glow of flowers illuminated the path ahead. Strange calls echoed in the distance, some melodic, some warning. Ethan's senses were alert to every sound, every movement. After some time, they reached a wide clearing. At its center was a massive creature grazing among the tall, twisting plants. It had a thick, armored hide, 6 legs, and a long, curved tail. Its eyes were small but sharp, scanning the surroundings constantly. "This is what you faced today," one of the warriors whispered to him. "Observe, learn, do not rush," Ethan nodded. He crouched behind a thick tree watching the creature's movements. It was cautious, aware of its surroundings, and incredibly strong. He realized that brute force alone would not win here. Strategy and timing were essential. The tribe spread out, creating a circle to contain the creature. Ethan followed their lead, moving quietly and steadily. He noticed small signs in the ground, the crushed leaves, the direction of the creature's footprints, and subtle movements of the glowing plants. He began to understand the forest in a way he had not before. Suddenly, the creature raised its head, sensing movement. It let out a deep, resonant growl that echoed through the clearing. Ethan froze, holding his breath, but the warriors moved with practiced precision. They signaled him to act, and he obeyed instinctively. Using a combination of traps, careful positioning, and quick thinking, Ethan helped guide the creature toward a natural pit hidden under loose branches and leaves. It thrashed and struggled, but the traps worked as intended. Slowly, they led the creature into the pit. Once it was trapped, the warriors approached cautiously to ensure it could not escape. The leader stepped forward, her eyes fixed on Ethan. "You have done well," she said. "Not only your strength, but your mind. You are learning our ways faster than expected." Ethan exhaled, relief washing over him. Lyra ran to his side, her small face bright with excitement. "Human, clever, strong," she said proudly. The other women of the tribe began to speak among themselves, their expressions shifting from curiosity to respect. Ethan realized that the hunt had shown them what he had known all along. Humans were resourceful, adaptable, and courageous. As the day continued, the tribe demonstrated more hunting techniques. They taught him how to track smaller creatures, how to identify safe plants, and how to move quietly without alerting potential prey. Ethan learned quickly, absorbing every lesson. His human instincts combined with his ability to observe and adapt made him an effective partner in the hunt. By late afternoon, the hunt had ended. The tribe had successfully captured enough food for the settlement, and they praised Ethan for his contribution. It was the first time he felt that he truly belonged on this world, even if only temporarily. Around the fire that evening, the tribe gathered to share stories of past hunts and legendary warriors. Ethan listened carefully, understanding the depth of their culture and the importance of these rituals. He realized that trust was not given lightly here. It was earned through action, courage, and respect. The leader approached him again, her expression softer than before. "You are not one of us by blood," she said, "but you have shown the qualities of one who can stand among us. You fight not for yourself alone, but for others. That is rare." Ethan nodded, humbled by her words. "I am grateful. I only wish to protect those who cannot protect themselves." The queen's eyes softened, and she nodded approvingly. "That is the beginning of respect," she said. "You have much to learn, but you have taken the first step." Lyra clung to his arm, her glowing eyes shining in the firelight. "Safe, human," she whispered once more, reinforcing the bond that had grown between them. Ethan realized that saving her had not only changed her life, but his own. He had found purpose, companionship, and a sense of belonging he had not expected to find in this alien forest. As night fell, the forest around them came alive with sounds, soft rustling, distant calls, and the occasional roar of unseen creatures. Ethan kept a watchful eye, knowing that even in times of peace this world was full of surprises. The tribe trusted him now, but the bond was fragile and had to be nurtured through respect, courage, and cooperation. Before sleep, Ethan sat with Lyra, looking up at the alien stars that filled the sky. "We've done well today," he said softly. "Tomorrow we learn more. We become stronger. Together we face whatever comes next." Lyra smiled faintly, her small hand brushing his arm. "Together, human," she said. Ethan smiled back. The bond between them had deepened. They were no longer just rescuer and rescued. They were companions, allies, and perhaps something more. The forest, once threatening and strange, now held promise and possibility. As they drifted to sleep, Ethan felt a quiet determination. He had proven his courage, earned respect, and begun to build trust with the tribe. Yet he knew this was only the beginning. The forest was vast, the dangers many, and the lessons far from over. But for the first time he felt ready to face whatever challenges this alien world would present. The night passed peacefully. The tribe kept their watch, but Ethan felt secure, knowing that he was no longer alone. He had Lyra, the young alien girl he had saved, and the tribe who had begun to see him as a worthy ally. The bonds he had formed today would guide him through the trials of tomorrow, and perhaps beyond. Ethan knew that his journey on this alien world was far from over, but with courage, quick thinking, and the trust he had earned, he was prepared for whatever lay ahead. The hunt had not only tested his skill and bravery, it had strengthened the connection between human and alien, survivor and protector, stranger and tribe. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. But for now, Ethan allowed himself a rare moment of peace. He had faced fear, danger, and skepticism, and had emerged stronger, wiser, and respected. And beside him, Lyra slept safe and secure, a reminder of why he had come to this world and what he was willing to do to survive and protect those who depended on him. The fire burned low, casting soft shadows across the settlement. The tribe of women watched carefully, approving silently. Ethan had proven himself. He had shown that a human could adapt, survive, and even thrive among them. The bonds formed today would be the foundation for the days ahead, shaping the path of a human who had come to an alien world by chance, but would remain by courage, heart, and respect. The sun rose slowly over the alien forest, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange, purple, and red. Ethan awoke to the soft sounds of the tribe preparing for the day. There was a sense of anticipation in the air. Today would mark the conclusion of his trial and, hopefully, his full acceptance into the tribe. Lyra was already awake, her glowing eyes scanning the clearing as she quietly tended to the small fire. She looked up at Ethan and smiled. "Today, tribesy, human," she whispered. Her words were simple but filled with excitement. Ethan nodded. "Yes, today we show them who we are. Together." He felt a mix of nerves and determination. The previous days had been tests of skill, courage, and wit. But the final step would test something more: his ability to belong, to earn the tribe's trust completely. The leader approached him, her presence commanding yet calm. "The trials are complete," she said. "You have proven yourself in skill, strength, and mind. But now the tribe must decide if your heart is as steadfast as your actions. You will join the circle of trust. Stand with us and show your dedication to our people." Ethan straightened, feeling the weight of her words. This was the moment he had worked for. Not just survival, but recognition, respect, and the chance to truly belong. Lyra took his hand, her small fingers intertwining with his. "Together," she said, reinforcing his resolve. The tribe gathered in the central platform, a ring of women surrounding a smaller, raised circle in the middle. Ethan stepped into the circle with Lyra at his side. All eyes were on them, curious, cautious, and finally admiring. The leader spoke first. "Human," she said, her voice clear and powerful. "You have faced our tests with courage and intelligence. You have saved one of our own and proven yourself in the hunt. But the greatest test is trust. Will you stand with us, protect us, and honor our ways?" Ethan took a deep breath. "I will," he said firmly. "I came here by chance, but I choose to stay and help. I will protect your people and follow your ways as best I can. And I will protect Lyra always." The tribe murmured among themselves. Some nodded, others studied him carefully, but the mood had changed. Where there had been doubt, now there was respect. Where there had been caution, there was admiration. Ethan realized that trust was not only earned through action, but through honesty and intent. The leader stepped closer, placing a hand lightly on his shoulder. "Your heart is true. The tribe accepts you." A cheer rose from the gathered women. Lyra jumped up and down, clapping her hands in delight. "Human. Tribe, yes," she shouted, her voice carrying across the clearing. Ethan felt a warmth in his chest. After days of fear, danger, and uncertainty, he was finally accepted. He had come as a stranger, a survivor, and now he was part of something greater than himself. The tribe had tested him, and he had passed, not just with skill but with integrity. The day continued with celebrations. The tribe shared food, music, and stories. Ethan learned more about their culture, their history, and their way of life. He listened intently, absorbing every detail. Lyra stayed close, introducing him to friends and relatives, proudly showing him as her human savior. As the sun began to set, the leader called Ethan aside. They walked to a quiet overlook, where the forest stretched endlessly below, bathed in the colors of the evening. "You have proven yourself," she said quietly. "But remember, trust must be maintained. Protect the weak, honor our ways, and respect this world." Then you will not only belong, you will be valued. Ethan nodded. I understand. I will do my best. Thank you for believing in me. The leader's expression softened. It is not belief alone, it is your actions that earned this. Humans are rare among us, yet you have shown that courage and heart transcend worlds. Ethan looked out over the forest, feeling a sense of purpose stronger than ever before. He had come to this world by accident, but he would stay by choice for Lyra, for the tribe, and for the bond he had formed through trials and trust. That night, as the settlement quieted, Ethan sat near the fire with Lyra. The young girl leaned against him, her glowing eyes reflecting the flickering flames. Human, brave, she whispered, her words full of admiration. You are brave too, Lyra, Ethan replied softly. Without you, I would never have known what I was capable of. She smiled faintly. Together, always, she said. Ethan nodded, realizing that their bond had grown stronger than ever. It was more than friendship, more than survival. It was a connection built on trust, courage, and shared experience. They had faced danger, fear, and the unknown, and had come through it together. Over the following days, Ethan settled into life with the tribe. He learned their hunting techniques, their ways of moving through the forest, and their customs. The tribe watched him with careful eyes, but now there was admiration in their gaze. He was no longer a stranger or outsider. He was part of their community. Lyra was his constant companion, guiding him when he was unsure and celebrating small victories with him. Together they explored the forest, discovering hidden paths, glowing plants, and mysterious creatures. The bond between them deepened, a partnership built on mutual respect, trust, and courage. One morning, as they walked along a raised bridge above the forest floor, the leader approached. She looked at Ethan with a mixture of pride and approval. You have done more than survive, she said. You have learned, adapted, and shown your heart. The tribe values you. Your presence strengthens us, and your courage inspires us. This world is safer and richer for your choice to protect it. Ethan felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He had come to this alien world lost and alone, but he had found purpose, respect, and belonging. He had saved a life, earned trust, and discovered that courage could transcend worlds and species. That evening, the tribe gathered to celebrate a successful hunt and the acceptance of Ethan. Songs were sung, stories were shared, and the fire burned brightly. Lyra danced around the circle, laughing with joy. Ethan watched, feeling a deep sense of connection. He had come as a stranger, but he would remain by choice, a human who had proven that bravery, compassion, and integrity could bridge worlds. As night fell, Ethan sat beside Lyra, looking up at the alien stars. The forest around them was alive with sounds, soft rustling, distant calls, and the hum of life that thrived even in the darkness. He felt a profound peace knowing that he had earned his place and that together with Lyra, they could face whatever challenges the future held. Human. Home now? Lyra asked softly, leaning against him. Yes, Ethan replied. Home, with you, with the tribe. The young alien girl smiled, her glowing eyes reflecting the starlight. Safe, always, she whispered. Ethan nodded, feeling a warmth he had never known. He had come to this world by accident, but he would stay by choice. He had learned that courage, trust, and compassion were more powerful than fear, and he had found a bond that would endure between human and alien. Stranger and tribe, protector and protected. The fire burned low. The stars shone brightly, and the alien forest whispered its quiet approval. Ethan had survived, he had proven himself, and he had been accepted. His journey had begun with a crash and a rescue, and it ended with trust, respect, and a new beginning. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new adventures, and perhaps new mysteries. But for now, Ethan allowed himself to rest, knowing that he was no longer alone. He had Lyra, he had the tribe, and he had the courage and heart to face whatever came next. And so, a human who had once been a stranger on an alien world had become more than a survivor. He had become part of a family, a protector, and a symbol of what humanity could achieve when courage and compassion guided every action. The forest slept, peaceful for the first time in days. Ethan and Lyra rested by the fire, their hearts light, their spirits strong, and their bond unbreakable. A new chapter had begun, a chapter of trust, unity, and the unspoken promise that together they could face anything.